Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Given podcast. This episode is different. You'll notice that firstly, it's a long episode again, but don't let that put you off. This is a first attempt at an interactive stalking podcast. This is where I ask for suggestions of what we could do to improve the podcast or get some ideas of other things. And one of our followers, Katherine, messaged and said, why don't you do an interactive podcast, all the sounds and the feels of what's going on? So I basically messaged back and said, well, do you want to come stalking in Aberdeenshire if you'd be willing to do the recording with me? And she said, yeah, her and her husband would come up, and we arranged a time, and they actually came up between Christmas and New Year, the weekend between, because obviously it was they had some annual leave. So we met, we went through everything from the rifle, setting it up, to going out. I think we ended up doing about 4 stalks in total. Let me tell you though, the weather during this weekend was weird. It was incredibly mild. On the Saturday, there was no wind at all. It was still. And I mean, it was really tricky. In most of these bits of Clearfelt, you will see a deer. We saw one doe in the first one. In the second part, we were on deer, and then all of a sudden the sun went down and the wind swept round on us, completely changed direction, and things just legged it. Day 2 was a much windier day, but there was a storm forecast for the Monday. We had weather warnings. I think we were yellow going up to amber weather warnings. So the deer didn't seem to want to move. They were sitting really tight. And as we got onto our final stalk, we had deer 48 metres off deer that just did not want to move. They were tucked in under some wind blow. You couldn't see them with the naked eye or even the binoculars. The thermal said they were there, but they weren't going to move. They weren't going to shift at all. So join us on this adventure of going stalking. Please bear with me. As I say, it's a first attempt at trying to do anything in the field with wind, weather, microphones that won't sync together quite right. Is really difficult. It's taken a lot of editing to get this together, and hopefully you will enjoy it. The next one will be better. If you do enjoy these type of podcasts where it's a bit more storytelling and you're actually joining us on the hunt, let me know and we'll try and do another one. Maybe there's something you want to suggest and we can make that work. But we'll get started straight away. As I say, it's a long podcast, but you should be able to break it up if you need to. And I'd love to get some feedback from you. The Outdoor Given podcast is proudly sponsored by the Shooting and Hunting Academy, an online training platform and UK registered learning provider that provides a host of accredited and nationally available courses and masterclasses delivered by leading industry experts. Good morning, and we are trying to do an interactive recording. So I have Katherine, who has travelled all the way up from Devon to come stalking in the northeast of nowhere. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So this is a first for us, obviously trying to do this interactive recording as sort of a day out in the life of a stalker. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll all come right in the edit. So currently in Aberdeenshire, it's an absolutely gorgeous morning. It's about 6 degrees. We've got an absolute wonderful sunrise just about to come up. Blue skies. Yeah, it's not bad, is it? Really?
Very good of you to arrange that for us, Peter.
I was trying to explain the weather up here is it's either beautiful or it's miserable as anything. We're incredibly lucky. I think most of the country at the moment is suffering heavy fog.
Yeah.
And airports are closed and all the rest of it. So we are incredibly blessed not to have mist on the ground. So we're just walking in to actually put the targets out so we can get set up and get some shooting done. 100 metres here. So I've got a target board, and Katherine is currently holding Doris, my deer, who we will place out in a second. Perfect.
Thank you.
No worries. There we go. Pop her up at the right height. So Doris the deer is the DSC1 black silhouette deer target that you'd shoot at. Very similar to the one you'd actually shoot at on your test when you do your DSC1. And then we've obviously got the 0-inch targets just to allow you to get your eye in.
And are those the 4-inch targets?
Those are the 4-inch targets. Those are the official DMQ 4-inch grouping targets. I just use them as standard because they have a really nice 1-inch square pattern on them, so we can see what's going on with the rifle, see what's happening, and that's the plan. So today you're going to be shooting a 243.
Yep.
It's perfect. It's a nice light rifle. It doesn't have massive kick on it, so it's great for somebody that's sort of starting out in the world of deer stalking, because it's not going to thump you in the shoulder and make you feel, oh, why am I doing this? The worst thing you can do is put somebody behind a rifle that's so kicky they suddenly get scared of the rifle, and their whole stalking adventure is like, I don't want to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
I think you've been to do a rifle training day with Ben at Deer Central.
I have, yes. I heard Ben on your podcast and thought, this chap sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Just over the border into Dorset, so not far to go either. And I thought, right, if I want to get back into this deer stalking malarkey, then got to make sure that you're doing it properly. And I think best place to start was a bit of marksmanship training. And just to be able to be taught all of the principles from the very beginning by a professional was just so useful. So I had a really cracking afternoon out with Ben. So hopefully I can put some of that practice.
And just out of curiosity, what rifle did you shoot with Ben?
I shot a 2.2 rimfire to start with for the sort of tuition, and then we did a DSC sort of mock exam with a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Okay, yeah, fine. So it's, again, not a massively kicky rifle. It's not like somebody sticking you behind a 270 or a 308 straight away, which does... I say that, but my 308 is quite smooth and quite gentle. But you do get some that are quite violent, and it does put a lot of stalkers off. So we're just going to get the rifle out. We're going to grab the sticks. We're going to get you up comfortable. Make sure that everything's happy. Obviously, that's the key. We won't be doing any sort of shooting from prone, because row stalking is going to be 100% of the time shooting off sticks. So the key we're going to do is we'll get this set of Viperflex sticks set up for you, so that it's pretty much at the right height, because the last thing you want to do is be fighting your sticks. And we'll grab this rifle out. The first thing you're going to do is a procedure. What's the word I'm looking for? You're going to dry fire the rifle, just so you can feel the trigger weight. There's no point in putting you behind. As I had last week, a friend of mine was up. I know he can shoot, but I didn't tell him how light the trigger was on my 308.
Oh, wow.
So his first shot was he's getting himself ready, and he'd already shot the deer.
Yeah.
But I think that was the best part, because the shot was perfect. And then after that, he was so concerned about how light the trigger was, he overthought every other shot. So it's sometimes it's a blessing and a problem in disguise. So it is a Tikka 243 with a T8 moderator and a myoptoscope on it. But we'll get you set up on the sticks. We'll have a look at what's going on there, and just get you comfortable and feeling that you can see everything. Drop the mag out. And we've got some geese going overhead. Fair skein.
Yeah, they're gorgeous, aren't they? Lit up by the sunrise. Very nice indeed.
At this time of year, it's just, that's the constant noise you hear. So get yourself comfortable behind that. We might just need to drop it down a bit. Now, I'm not sure how Ben would have set you up on the Viperflex sticks, but obviously I just set them like this, so they're always there ready for you to sort of feel comfortable. The bolt it's all safe. There's no rounds in the chamber, and the bolt's not forward just yet.
Now, I remember the sticks taking a little bit of getting used to.
Yes, the Viperflex sticks are really good because they give you a really stable platform. The only movement you get on them is sort of a vertical movement. Whereas obviously we have other types of sticks like the Primos trigger sticks and things like that. And in that case, you can have quite a lot of movement on them. They can be very quick to deploy, Yeah, these just, once you get comfortable, you'll know where you are, and everything will be good. And those geese are actually going to drop into this field.
Oh yes, looks like they're circling a bit. Okay, that's feeling pretty good.
Okay, so what we're going to need to do now is if you push the bolt forward and lock it into position. That's it. Now, when you're ready, aim on the target. As I say, there's no rounds in this. It's not going to go bang. I just want you to just to get used to that trigger weight.
Yeah, it's fairly light, isn't it?
This one's the heavier one.
Oh really?
Yeah. The other rifle is literally you breathe and it goes bang.
Oh my gosh.
What we're going to do now is we're going to put a round in it. As I said, the first round you're going to fire down this is I've just cleaned this rifle, so we're just going to choose the bottom target. I'm not too bothered exactly where it goes. I just want you to pop a round through.
Okay.
We'll take it from there. Oops, sorry. Right, the rifle is now live. The safety is on. When you're ready, I'll just grab my binos. So if you can take your shot on the bottom target, that would be great. Just aim on as if you're gonna shoot at it. That would be perfect.
Oh, I think I pulled.
That's okay. I'm not, as I said, I'm not
Barrel cleaning.
I'm literally just settling the barrel in. So what I'm going to do now is we'll reload, shove another one down.
Would you always flick that back onto safety?
Yes, yeah, sorry, that's my fault.
No, that's fine. Just checking.
Pop your safety back on.
I'd rather be extra safe.
So when we come to actually take the stalk,
Yeah.
the key with rolling the safety off on this is to actually keep your thumb on it and push forward, not to let it go click. That click, the deer will stick its head up and look at you.
Really?
and run
Gosh.
away.
Yeah. I need to practice that.
So thumb on it and just push it forward slowly. Same target, please.
Sorry, I'm getting a bit more comfortable. Safety's off.
Perfect.
Didn't hear it that time.
No clicks.
I'm not feeling massively steady.
Are you not?
No, I wonder if I'm doing something a bit strange.
I would say the sticks probably need to come down a wee bit more.
Okay.
So that's all right. We've done 2 shots, but this is purely, as I say, more for cleaning the barrel and just settling everything in. What we'll do now is move to the top target. We've done two fouling shots. Move to the top target. See if you can get yourself a bit more stable.
Yeah.
I would say we probably do need to come down that bit more and push yourself into the rifle, lean into it more.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Big old skein of geese. They've decided not to stop. Probably the 2 bangs.
Surprised.
I was out here the other day with the 308 and they didn't care at all. They just
Really?
They settled in and
God.
that was it. Right. How do you feel at that? More?
Feeling more stable.
Okay, perfect. Same position.
I'm
Okay.
trying to get my head around not flinching when you fire. Is that something that's present in practice?
I think that's one of those things that you've probably shot a rifle in the past that's given you a bit of a kick.
Maybe.
And because of that, you're nervous. Now, we've had it with guests where they close their eyes
Yeah.
and squeeze the trigger. And it's like, did you see what you're shooting at? Well, it was fine until I squeezed the trigger and then I closed my eyes. It's like, well, that's no good.
It's not intentional.
It's not intentional. It can all be down to eye relief, and every shooter will have a slightly different cheek weld on the rifle and things like that, and that can change your focal position through the scope.
John's mum has done her DSC1
Okay.
and has a 243.
Well armed.
She's great. And she was telling me that when she did hers, they told her they were looking for a really consistent grouping rather than, exact precision, because she was borrowing a rifle, so,
Once you've got
your
own
zero
rifle-
might be slightly off, etc.
Yeah, once you've got your own rifle, you'll set it up and confirm it to yourself.
I generally find with things like, bikes or guitars or whatever it is, because I'm slightly smaller than the average person, it does take a bit more tweaking.
That's all right. It may well be, if we look here, 1, 2, we'll ignore that one, okay? because that was our first fouling shot. Your first round, you were in the circle, but you were slightly low. Your second round, again, here was low. So what we'll do is we'll get you back on the target again. We'll shoot again, but we'll possibly just aim you off here and see whether you can put it in. It won't make a lot of difference on Doris when we come to shoot, but if I do need to adjust the rifle, I just want to see whether it's your trigger pull that's causing it, and then if I need to, I'll change the rifle a few clicks just to get it into that position.
Is there anything to do with your position when you're behind the rifle that's more likely to cause that to...
Well, yeah, the key would be is when you're looking through the eyepiece, you're seeing a nice, clean picture and you're not getting any black. If you get any black bordering in there, that would indicate that you're not looking through the rifle, the scope square. And at that point, it shouldn't affect it massively, but it will slightly change the point of aim, because the key is you want to see if that's all nice and clear and it has no black border around it, you're getting a perfect view straight down the tube. If you're looking at it slightly off on an angle, it makes a big difference to that optical setup through a scope.
Let's try again.
Let's try again. So we know everything's good. I'm happy. If anything, what I'll do because of that is I'll probably move it over one click to the left anyway, because it is shooting slightly right. That will resolve that problem straight away, and then we'll put you straight behind it again. The joy of factory ammunition as well never helps. Normally I'd use for my own.
I thought you self-loaded.
For my own shooting, it's home loads. But if we take guests out for insurance purposes, you have to use factory ammunition.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know.
So the reason is a lot of insurance companies won't insure you to use home loads with a guest. When you shot with Ben, did you shoot off sticks or were you shooting in the...
Both. We started prone.
You started prone. And what was which position gave you the best results for shooting? Or were they both equally the same? More just out of curiosity.
Probably prone.
Yeah. So prone is obviously perfect because it's a very stable position for shooting.
What we did actually is we did prone, then 2 sticks.
Okay.
As in this collapsed.
Yeah.
Which was really tough, and we had a real side wind as well, and I was all over the place. It was getting buffeted all over the place, and then we turned it into the quad sticks, and that just I think more than anything just to show how much an effect that has.
It's amazing that if you go from just a bipod, a tall bipod, how much movement the body gets to when you move to the quad sticks, which gives you an amazing amount of stability in the sort of the left-right position, but you still have your up-down. Now, a lot of this for you, you're consistent, they're in the same place, but sometimes you find that people draw a vertical line. Now, that vertical line indicates that every time they take a shot, it's the breathing position, or they're rocking backwards and forwards, or when you come to pull the trigger, it's a pulling the rifle over. The chances are for you is I think you're torquing the rifle as you come to squeeze the trigger, so you're actually...
Oh, pulling back?
Because you're nervous, you're twisting it slightly. You're actually twisting the rifle. So what I'm going to do is, as I said, when we're at the target, my shots were slightly to the right. I'm going to give it one click over to the left, which should hopefully resolve that problem.
The other thing that Ben had me doing when I did my marksmanship training was squeezing the trigger to 25%, to 50%, easier said than done, but just really slowing down that process.
Yes, I think that's a big thing.
That's perhaps part of it.
And every rifle you come to, that's why we do the trigger weight test at the beginning, to give you that feeling you know what the trigger weight is. If you want to go through that again, we won't load it. You can take a trigger weight shot. So
that would be helpful. I think just getting my positioning
mags out,
as well.
Bolts forward, get yourself comfortable again.
Thank you.
I think we need to bring that in. That should be good. Or is that too high for you?
No, that's fine.
Okay, line yourself up on the top target. Make sure everything's comfortable. As I say, there's no rounds in it. Bolt is forward and the safety is off. And now you've got a nice clean picture.
Yeah. I think perhaps I need to be further forwards on the scope than I was.
Possibly. Everybody will have a slightly different position. You're still in a perfect position that you're not going to end up with the scope punching you in the face, which is
That's nice to know.
exactly. So you're not going to go home with a nice ring or
Black eye. It's a nice New Year's treat, isn't
exactly. How did you get that one? They do hurt. Exactly.
Okay, that feels pretty good.
Yeah. So when you're ready, safety's off. Just get used to that trigger. Your position looks very stable, so all is good.
Yeah, that felt more controlled.
Yeah? Okay. I'm going to let you do this part. So you're going to bring the bolt open, pull all the way back, push forward, chamber around, safety on. You're ready to go. Top target, and when you're ready and feel comfortable, take the shot.
Safety's off.
Very good.
Oh. Is that where I thought it is? I think it is. Really far bottom left.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at as well. Okay, we'll
Interesting.
go again. So open the bolt. There we go. Push forward. Safety on. Get yourself comfortable.
Safety off.
Very good.
That's more like it.
That'll do. That'll do. You're in the 4-inch circle. You are still shooting slightly to the right. Now, I think that's more going to be down to your position on the rifle rather than anything else, because in each case, you've always shot right. I've moved it one to the left. So as long as we shoot there, when we come to take you actually on the deer, which we'll shoot Doris in a minute, we're going to put another round at this target, but when we get you to shoot at Doris, it won't make a lot of difference, because in that 4-inch circle, as long as you're in that, you're within the kill zone. And these rounds are, you've probably noticed, is they're actually a polymer tip. So they're a high energy expansion round. The reason I'm using these is it doesn't matter if your shot is slightly off the target, especially with a guest. I get more catastrophic meat damage, but I know that the deer goes down. A rose shoulder, you don't get a lot of meat out of it. So at the end of the day, I'm not so bothered that we might lose that shoulder completely, but at least I know that the animal you're shooting at is going to drop very quickly. If it was all about meat preservation and making sure that I was harvesting as much meat out of these deer as possible, then obviously I'd probably use like a soft point bullet. I'm not affected by the lead ban, so at the moment I can carry on using a lead bullet. So devastating effects are much better, that the deer falls over very quickly.
Humane as possible.
Exactly. Right, we'll reload again. So if you bring the bolt back.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Reload. Right, what we'll do, one more at that target, please. But you're definitely on this time. Safety off.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Very good. That'll do. It's still within the 4-inch circle.
Bottom right, sorry.
It's no, we'll head up and have a look in a second. Looking at the splash of mud behind, you're probably just in the black. I'm hoping.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll head up, we'll change the targets over.
Cool.
That way you can have a shot as well, so there's a clean, fresh target. And then we can discuss where you're going to shoot on the deer silhouette.
Should I just pop these against here? Or?
Yeah, pop those against there. Probably the nerves, having a mic.
I think it is, yeah.
Everything, just to know all of that is, it probably does that little bit more to you. I'd say we'll forget about these in a bit and then it'll all be fine.
I certainly found that when I moved from the rimfire with Ben to the centre fire, I was much better.
So you were you struggling with the rimfire, or?
Yeah, well, not struggling, but certainly not. It didn't feel as natural, perhaps.
Okay, and the rimfire you were only shooting probably out to about, what, 50 metres?
100 from prone, I think.
Okay.
And then 70 on sticks.
Right, okay.
But it just, I don't know, something about it. I just gelled with it quite nicely.
Oh, that's good. The rimfire is quite nice because obviously it's a very, there's no, you squeeze the trigger and it just goes tink.
Yeah.
So there's no thinking of kicks or anything like that. If you've definitely shot something, I think, that was a bigger rifle in the par.
Yeah, I went up to the Isle of Mull on the Hindcull about 10 years ago.
Right.
And used a 308.
And that's probably big old 150 or 180 grain bullets.
Yeah.
A good old thump out of them.
Yeah.
And you started to think, I'm not sure about this. So your 2 rounds are, there's your other one. It is right next to that first one we shot.
Oh, really?
Just there.
Oh, yeah. That's what I thought.
You're consistent. This is all breathing.
I don't know what happened here.
Not sure. I think you pulled this one, maybe.
God knows.
But we'll ignore that one. But this is definitely breathing. You can see it's riding up and down, but you're in the same line.
Okay.
But you're shooting right. I don't want to adjust the rifle, but we can make that up when it comes to shooting a deer, because the chances are most people shoot forward, so it's just like when you come up the back leg, just stay in line with the back. When you come up the front leg, I always get this wrong, I did it in a video with Alex, when you come up the back of the front leg, you'll just stay in line with the back of the front leg.
Coming up here.
Yeah.
And then naturally it's going to come across.
Going to come across. So we'll take these targets down, put another one up. Right, so if we have a look at the deer silhouette, it's nothing on the front, but if you look at the back side of it, nice big yellow circle and a big kill zone. Anywhere in here, so we're looking at the back of this silhouette target, but I've got a nice circle on the back with a yellow mark on it. Anywhere in here is vital organs. We've got a heart that sits low down here. We've got 2 lungs that hang across the back here. We've got everything from windpipe and trachea coming down here, and then obviously the esophagus runs through to get into the stomach. If we draw a line in the deer, everything back here is the green. Stomach, small intestines, liver sits around about here. We don't want to shoot that. But if you hit anything in this front zone, that deer will go down. If we hit the heart, it may run on a few feet and fall over. With the knockdown power of these bullets, the chances are it will drop on the spot. If you hit the lungs, it will die, but it will maybe take a little bit longer. It will still bleed out, but the amount of blood it's losing is probably not as great as if you hit the main organ. A lot of people, I've been finding, are aiming slightly higher. This is why I say middle of the body, because what you'll end up doing is there's a big node here where the lungs and the heart all interlink into it, and that's where the main blood supply is and everything like that. So if you hit that area, and as I said, especially with these bullets, they explode so well, it normally knocks that out and your deer just falls over like it never knew what happened, and it expires very quickly. So this is the kill zone we're aiming for. From the front of the target, however, it is just a black shadow. Now, with the weather and with the way that the light falls down here, the last chap I had out, it was literally a silhouette he was shooting at, because we were losing light very quickly. We could still see it. He does suffer a bit, wears glasses, similar idea. So I don't know how you are at night with light levels, but he just was struggling to see, but he got the silhouette, got the shot on it, and it dropped on the spot. That's why we'll have the thermal out as well, just in case. So what we're going to do now is go back down to the rifle. Your aim point is you're going to find this leg, if you can see it, and just come up. And if you shoot there, up here, you can see where one of the holes is. Your bullet, you're always shooting slightly to the right, so everything's going to land in the right place. We just need a round in there, and it's all happy days.
Cool. Easy as that.
Easy as that. It's slightly different though when they look back at you. Yeah. That's what normally gets most people. They're great on the target, and then when that blinks at you and blinks, then that's what puts most people.
Really?
It gets most people. And it's the whole concept that you're about to take life.
I just think it's such a huge responsibility. You've got to get it right.
Yes.
Your accuracy and the way that you carry it out could mean the difference between a very quick, humane death for that animal or total suffering. So that's such a massive responsibility to have in your hands, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why.
That's what makes me nervous, I think.
This is why our biggest thing is I'd rather you knock the shoulders out and we don't salvage that meat, because we know we're aiming for the largest target zone on that animal, rather than saying to you, oh, I want you to take a headshot on it, and you miss, you blow the jaw off, and then we've got to chase that deer. Now, if we're lucky, the deer won't go far and it'll be easy to get a follow-up shot on it. But if we lost it in thick forestry or clear fell here, that's it. We've now got a deer that's missing its jaw. It's going to have a very painful, starve to death kind of situation, and we don't want that. So take that body shot, hit the vital organs. The deer's going to go down. It may run on. People normally get worried. Oh, it's run on. That's no problem at all. It depends on the state of the deer. Sometimes they can be built up on a bit of adrenaline because they've seen us and they know we're there and you're going to take that shot. But sometimes they'll just run on naturally because there's a few pumps left in the heart before the blood's drained out, and the animal is expiring due to asphyxiation, lack of blood to the brain. Now, the quicker you can knock out that main organ, the blood drains very quickly. So if that deer takes one step, it may drain all its blood out, and that's it, job done. Bigger animals, like a big stag, he may run on 100 metres before he falls over, but nothing to worry about. Anyway, what we'll do, if you grab the sticks, I'll grab the rifle, we'll stick a round up at Doris, and then we'll let you have a shot. If we give her a name, it always makes life a little bit better.
Nice to get attached.
Yeah, don't get attached to Doris too much. So there's your rifle. You get yourself comfortable behind that. I'll put some rounds in the box. So if you line yourself up, have a look at the target, see what's going on, make sure you feel that you're comfortable and everything's good. Because at the end of the day, when we're out on that target or that deer, you're the one behind the trigger. If you're not comfortable, you just say, and if you don't want to shoot, we don't shoot.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. It's not like I'm going to be there telling you to pull the trigger. The choice falls down to you, the shooter, at the end of the day. And if it doesn't feel right, you don't do it. We will be shooting potentially this afternoon in some pretty rough clear fell, and there is a possibility that you will end up using the bipods in a prone position.
Okay.
But if we get you set up on the sticks, we'll try our best to make sure that you're shooting off the sticks if you're comfortable with that. But there are tree stumps and there are mounds, and it may be a case that I can get you into a really stable position behind that and you'll take the shot.
Perfect.
So the mag is in. There are 3 shots in it. If you close the bolt and put the safety on, and when you're ready, you can take a shot. Perfect. No clicks. Right, we'll leave that in suspense for the moment.
Oh, cliffhanger.
Yeah. No, that's yours there.
Oh, okay.
That's yours. There's
That makes a bit more sense, actually.
That's it. So that's perfect. Let's go back and do that shot again. It is fine.
I don't have a Sharpie on me, otherwise I could.
No, I don't. I can see it on the back. So I thought that was fresher, but that's actually the fresher one. That's a 308.
I see, it's a slightly smaller round, isn't it? Gosh, the entry is pretty tiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then you can see, but even in what, half a centimetre?
You see the exit.
Yeah.
It's all right. At least yours isn't down here.
So there.
So you are that same distance forward. That's fine. We'll go again. We'll shoot again. The beauty of the rubber mat is it doesn't give you any information. It's just black. You can't see wherever the people. If I take this off,
You can see where everybody else is, yeah.
you start having to put black tape on it, and of course, all of a sudden, you've actually got guidance, so people can go, "Oh, hang on a minute, I can shoot in there."
And then when it comes to later, you say, well, how come that deer doesn't have a load of black tape all over it?
Exactly. So you are still shooting
To the right.
to the right, but then we can tell the rifle's not because we're all over the place, and I've put 2 down, and we were pretty much in the right place. So let's go back as I say, we'll spend a bit more time here until you're comfortable and confident. There's no point in going out and you going, I'm not sure, I don't want to do this. Whereas if we'll take a break, we'll have a chat, we'll chill out, we'll switch the mics off, we'll stop recording for a minute, we'll just calm, and then we'll put you back on and go again.
Perfect, thank you. Tell you what, those 2 cups of coffee at breakfast are probably a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I don't usually drink caffeine.
So just walking back up to your target, we'll have a look at the silhouette target and see where your shot is. So as I was saying a minute ago, just off the mic, there's a lot more pressure down in the south of England for sort of head and neck shot deer because the game dealers are refusing to take them, which I think is a big welfare issue, because unless your marksmanship is bang on, it's a much smaller target to shoot at. So we probably don't hear about it, but there's probably a lot more animals with holes in the wrong places. So this time, you are exactly where you shot.
Interesting.
There.
Still within the kill zone though.
Still within the kill. So 2 shots on the silhouette. There's a good gap between them, but I think giving you that break, we actually went off air, we didn't record it, just to let Katherine settle. That actually made a huge difference to where you shot.
And I adjusted my breathing as well on the exhale
breathing.
rather than trying to hold my breath, which,
Exactly.
yeah, in hindsight was silly, but there we go.
No,
You live and you learn.
And you aimed exactly where you aimed, and you've taken the shot, which I think some of it boils down to then, because you were holding your breath, you were doing something with the rifle and
Windmills.
probably be getting a little windmill in there and then coming off. But if you can shoot like that anywhere in there, you know it's the kill zone. We've got a dead deer, so
Sorry, Doris.
ideal. We'll leave these here, and we'll go back and have a bit of a debrief.
Fab.
Oh, there we go. That's perfect.
Happy days. To coin your phrase.
It may well be that the 2 coffees are now wearing off.
Yeah, hopefully. Good view of the castle from up here, eh?
Yes, so you can see Fyvie Castle. Yeah, it's a nice place. It's got a good tea room.
Oh, lovely. All the blessed places do.
There's a huge lot of development to actually build in they've got a walled garden in there, and they're putting in a new tea room and a kids play park. So really revitalising and giving the place some new energy.
And opening it up so, lots of people can go and see it and visit.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about up here is there's lots of castles that are open to the public, so you can go to lots of different places and see lots of different things. Some of them are free, some of them have a small charge.
Nice.
Still got more geese. Look at that, they're still coming. I don't want to think how many's parked up on top of that hill at the moment. Right, so that basically concludes our target shooting. Are there any questions?
No.
You're comfortable, happy. Okay. So the next time we speak, we'll actually be out on the stalk.
Great.
We've arrived at our first forestry block. We're going to look round. We'll get the rifle loaded up. We'll get ourselves organised, and then we'll crack on into the woods. I'll carry the rifle. I'll carry the sticks. If I see something, I'll probably get the sticks set up, get the rifle set up, get it on target, and then ask you to step in, take over.
Great.
Okay. So with row stalking, it's a bit unlike being out on the hill. We will actually chamber around, in this case, safety on, and because the chances of being able to get the rifle set up, chamber around and all the rest of it, sometimes you have to move quick.
In close proximity.
Yeah. So the easiest part is to take one of those factors out, and that is trying to chamber around, which is incredibly noisy.
Yes.
Right. Just grab the other thermal.
How much would you be looking at spending for a thermal like that?
So that Pulsar is the Axion, and I think they're just over £1,000. That's their newest. That's the XG35. It's got a larger lens on it, and then obviously this one is their sort of top of the range. It's the Telos. This has a rangefinder in it. It's got a nice big 50mm lens on that, so it gathers as much light, well, not light, but as much heat as possible, and a detection range of up to about 2.5 kilometres.
Crikey.
So we can see everything. In this particular situation, because you're here to stalk with me, but we're actually really to do deer management, and we're not chasing trophy bucks or anything like that. The thermal is an absolute assistant. Middle of the day, it's cold, but it will allow us to see what's ahead of us, especially in this thick forestry. We'll get a good chance of being able to see what's going on.
Great.
Cool. Are we all good?
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
It's just funny.
Diddy, isn't it?
It's tiny. If you compare it to something like that,
Like the night, like IR night scopes that I've used before have all been enormous.
yeah. So you'd have probably used
Very
things
handy.
like
Just
the
goes in.
Yukons and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I've got the original Yukons, and I was joking with Pulsar because I was like, look, I've been in this brand for this long. Here's some of the original kit. And they're like, that's longer than I've ever worked at the company for. One guy I'm like, yeah, shame they don't work anymore. You haven't got any parts, have you? So we've got a pretty awkward day today. There's very little wind. Now this woodland can work both ways. If you've got a lot of wind, it disguises our movements through the trees, but it does swirl our our scent, I should say, more in the trees. But with no wind, every step we take, especially as we get into the trees, it acts like a bit of an echo chamber.
Right.
So everything we have to take, every step needs to be more thoughtful. What we're going to do is we're going to go in this track, through this gate here, we'll go in this track, and we're going to go down to the right-hand side, and it'll open out onto sort of a bit of an open area, a bit of a marshy area. Sometimes there's a doe in there, sometimes there's a buck in there. From there we can then come back up, and there's a middle ride. We'll go all the way up that ride, up and over, and see what there is.
Great. Let's do it.
Pin gate open. It just makes life easier for coming back. Clearest skies you'll see up here.
Do you have any tips for stalking in close proximity like this? How to stay silent or as quiet as possible?
The thing to do is think of your foot placement is always the way I would look at it. If every foot placement you do, don't try and... A lot of people will start by looking at their feet too much, and you're not paying attention to what's ahead of you because you want to walk quietly. But as you get further on, you'll start to be able to lift and place your feet quietly, carefully, especially the terrain we're on. We're going from a muddy track to grassy stuff. You'll find that on the gravels you'll be noisier than you will be on a bit of grass. But it's just walking around, especially if you're out for a dog walk. Walk around, but take time on that dog walk. And I think it depends on what species you're stalking. If you were stalking seeker deer, I would say the most useful piece of advice to give you is stalk a little, look a lot. So you'll spend a lot more time on your binos. You may only do 10 yards, binos up, because actually a deer could come out of anywhere. And the key with it is, if you only walk, it might take you an hour to do 100 metres, but in that hour, a deer could come out in front of you.
At any moment.
Yeah. And the thing about them are, especially with roe, is you can see how thick and dense this bit of forestry is. There could be deer just inside there waiting for that opportunity to come out to graze some of this nice grass that's on the ride. So we move slowly and carefully. The big discussion we had the other day was regarding thermal. Does it make us a better stalker or a worse stalker? What it actually does, I suppose, for me, is it speeds up able to cover a lot more ground, because you can have that good scan of what's ahead of you, and if there's nothing there, you move on. Whereas if you're using a pair of binos, you might not see something, but the thermal can give you that little bit of a heads up, as there could be something hiding behind the grasses and so on and so forth. Does it make you a better stalker? Possibly not. But does it give you a tactical advantage? Massively.
Yeah. And I suppose if deer management is your priority, then anything that makes it more efficient is going to be a win.
Exactly. So today we are doing deer management. We're here to cull some does. So this is more a case of showing you how it works, rather than actually taking you out for, if you were out for your trophy animal or something along those lines, you might want to do the whole stalk more slowly, and we'll leave the thermal in the car at that point. This woods is full of pigeons and they will keep bouncing out at you from every tree.
Okay.
So please don't be too startled. Looks like the buzzard's had another one.
How long have you been stalking on this piece of land?
So on here now, probably about almost 8 years.
Wow. Must know it pretty well then.
Know it well, can tell you roughly where the deer will be, but this forestry is about to get a catastrophic change. They're about to do the first what's called thinning. So they'll start taking every 6th tree out, what we've seen. So it'll open the forestry up and completely change the dynamic of how it currently works. And then in about another 10 years, they'll clear fell it completely. And then it really will become a proper deer management situation. So at the moment, there is a deer fence around it, but because of the nature and the age of the trees, they're almost 20 years old, the fence has got some holes in it. So we still get a lot of deer in here. But the plan will be to reinstate the fence, clear everything up that's in here, at which point there'll be very little stalking on it. So the track carries on down there and then it comes to a T-junction at the bottom. But we're going to break off down this grassy edge of the trees here, and we're just going to follow these down, and then they'll open out onto a bit of an open area at the bottom down there. Obviously we do have houses on our right hand side, but they're never a bother and they're protected because the tree line goes down and they've got their gardens, as long as we don't shoot the Highland cow. but you will see a Highland cow in a minute. Plagued by geese again.
When the forests are thinned, do you find that has much of an effect on the deer? Does that sort of generate more of a ground floor level flora that they prefer, or?
Normally not really, they'll still come out on the rides for the grass, but it does open the trees up so you can see where they've been going and where they're heading and what they're doing. But in these Sitka spruce forests, it doesn't really make a huge difference to what they're doing.
Yeah.
If we actually crawl into this woodland through what looks like an impenetrable wall, it's actually quite open in there already.
Oh wow.
But there's nothing growing in there. There's nothing at low level. So this particular piece of forestry used to be a farm. And what they obviously did was they decided to sell the farm off, plant it with trees. So you've got the original farmhouse up in there and what they call steadings up here, which were like farm buildings, which have now been converted to 2 houses. They built a new house, sold it with a bit of land, and then the rest of it, all the fields were tree planted. And yeah, there's your Highland cow. There's 2 of them in that field. We do get a lot of these really peculiar growths.
Wow, that's a funny kind of mushroom I haven't seen before.
I know, they're round or dotty. It's amazing how many golf balls I found down here. So we'll just take a look out over this area here. It's normally quite a good space for them to come and sit, but
I think this is a track between the 2 blocks.
so yeah, there's a lot of wildlife comes through here, mostly badgers, but then the deer go through. We've also had the electricity board, as you can see, because they've been trimming off all of the excessive branches hanging out, but the wood's riddled with tunnels where the deer go through. Doesn't seem to be anything out there at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll carry on down, hugging against the trees, and it curves round. It takes us right across this boggy bit, and then it will bring us out to another opening, which will allow us to look out onto the neighbour's land, and then we can start working our way back up the centre ride.
Okay.
So this fence line here is our boundary. And always what's tantalising is there's always a deer running around those trees. But that's just the way the game plays sometimes. Got a lot of badgers in here, as you can see by the scrapings in the ground, and their route is in and out. So I was speaking about the deer fence to start with holes in it. The rabbit wire is broken at the bottom, so it's not so much of a bother. The trees are of an age where deer damage is not really going to be a thing that we need to worry about. Exactly. But once this kicks off and this is fully clear felled and replanted, like another section is forestry, the fences will get reinstated. There's 2 ways in Scotland that it's done. You either deer fence it and keep them out, or you end up having out of season and night licences to keep on top of the deer. But it depends on your estate owner and how much they want to spend.
I can imagine deer fencing would be very expensive.
Yeah, fencing's expensive if deer in there, but then you could have a deer issue. We've got another block of forestry where the land next door we can't shoot, and that's where the deer know they're safe. And then we had 10,000 trees damaged, some of that through deer damage, some of that through drought. But of course the forestry manager that walks around it just sees deer damage, so blames the deer, so therefore I get it in the neck that I'm not shooting enough deer. I'm like, but I can't shoot deer because they're protected, because they've got a bit of land to hide on. And whenever you get in there, they're all sat on the fields just looking at you going, we're safe. So it's a catch-22. So because there's no wind, normally at this point it's kind of a good judge which direction you're going to go. We've come to this Y junction now. We could either go right or we could go back up the middle. What we're going to actually do is we'll head up the middle under the pylons, because there's no wind again. We'll hopefully break the top, and the chances are as we get up there it opens out into a big area, a big turning circle where they've been moving a load of wood out and getting prepped for the clearing, and we'll see if there's anything up that way. But the only bit of wind there is,
It's heading straight up there.
It's swirling.
Ah.
It'll be very strange because this bit of tree line here normally starts off with the wind behind you. You get halfway up and it's in your face.
Wow.
So you kind of have to take the risk that you might win something, but as you get further on, the wind disappears and changes in your favour. So just up at that telegraph pole, the woods actually drops away to the right and it opens out, and then it dips off behind the high seat and it rolls down. So we'll approach that, but we'll be ready to look down to the right first, and then we'll get a view over ahead of us as well. So the plan is we're going to walk down here, as I said, and we're going to take a look up to the left. It's a bit of an open area, but then we'll probably end up cutting across to the right, which will take us behind this block, and it'll bring us round in a big circle. So you've got plenty of activity. You can see by their marks they come across. Yeah, so from here there's a badger as well, but everything wants to use this game trail and goes through and out that way. And then they've obviously been padding along here in the grass. You can see where their hoof prints are. So there was a doe just below us here, and it just literally ran up the fence line and just wasn't stopping. It legged it. I don't know, there's been a doe kicking around here for a while. She's always been a bit wary and on edge. So we'll move forward a bit and we'll get another look up there. She may have stopped further up, but the chances are she'll have legged it in, but we'll leave her if that is the case, and we'll just carry on with the original plan. So we'll work our way down here, and then that will hopefully allow us to see it carries on. You see this run all around to when we came out of that first clearing where I said we'd go up the middle, or we could have gone to the right, and then we'll get a view back up where we were. It's just so deadly still in here today. It's just so tricky, but we'll see what we can do. The Outdoor Gibbon podcast is proudly sponsored by the Shooting and Hunting Academy. Through the Academy, shooters, hunters, and those involved in the use of firearms can gain an in-depth and unique level of training that enables them to shoot better, behave more effectively in the field, up their strike rates, as well as learning new skills. Crucially, those new to deerstalking, the Academy also offers the Proficient Deerstalker Certificate Level 1, the PDS1, a deer management certificate that is nationally recognised and accredited both by LANTRA and UK Rural Skills. Visit the Shooting and Hunting Academy to find out more. Let's get back to the show. I've got his ears. So if you see that foxglove that's standing up, at grass level, just look straight through it and you'll see a black log lying down, and he's in front of that. You'll just see his ears.
I've still not got him.
That's alright, they're really tricky to see. You literally can just see the lighter fluff in his ears, but it's really difficult because he's really camouflaged into the grass. We're going to leave John here. Just scoot down slightly, make sure you can still see it. We're going to drop down and we're going to try and move ourselves over to that mound across there. They're on, they're done. It's in that line, and then you'll just see two ears sticking up. They're very, very tricky to see. You've got some black pushed forward slightly. If you're too far, you'll hit a black stump, but just white grass, and then you see his two ears sticking up, like making the classic deer sort of Bugs Bunny ears. But very hard to see. Your eyes might adjust to it. If they don't, we'll move.
So there's a tuft of grass coming down from the trees, very golden. Below that.
Yeah, it's below that. And if you go too low, you get the
stump.
You hit that stump. So it's between there. It's so tricky. We're going to move a bit closer. We're going to move to gain a bit of height. See if we can get a better angle. But it's sitting tight, so it's all good.
Haven't been able to tell whether it's a doe.
Not yet, but that's why if we can get the rifle on it for you, if it does stand up and present, you're ready. Whereas if we're just looking at it, we might not have that opportunity. We'll leave him there. There it is. Bloody thing's just stood up. Don't move. Take that. It's a doe. She is. Just take it. Your shot's not available, but just get in and have a look. She's just moving now, unfortunately. So she's just gone that way. But she's still in a place we can get on her. That should allow you to see her. So if you look at the grass just in front. Oh, she's barking away. That's okay.
She's definitely feeling threatened.
Yeah. doesn't know what we are. But that's fine.
Can you still see her?
No, she's jumped over the hill. Okay. We'll move on to her. You come this way. If I hadn't taken the rifle down, the problem we had was she was very quartering, so she was looking directly at you. And because I know that you're not quite as confident with the shot, I couldn't have said just aim for her neck because it's too small a window. If you'd been putting them all in the bolt this morning, it would have been like perfect. Just there's a white mark on the neck, shoot her there, and she'd drop. But I want a nice, clean, broadside shot. Just as I was about to get her to set in. That's alright, we're going to keep going. She hasn't raced off. There's obviously 3 of them. So she was sat there quite tight. I think the other 3 have moved below her. So we'll move on and see what we can find. There's another one out there, mooching around below the telegraph pole. You can just see the heat of its back. You won't see it with those. So just by that telegraph pole, there's a hot lump moving. So she ran into the woods, but she's just come back. She's down here. See that tree there? Yeah, that's her. There's another one. That's okay, they're still going in the right direction. Come on. Can you see that one? It should be as clear as day. Can you see him? He's standing out as clear as day.
I can't quite tell if it's a buck or a doe though.
183 metres. Chances are it's a young buck.
Dear Sumis.
He's moved off. So whether he's moved off down the bottom, I don't know at the moment. Problem having no wind as we're experiencing it. Any movement and we're in direct line of sight and there's no real cover. It's quite tricky across here. But he hasn't shot up the hill, so if anything, he'll have dropped down. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to descend out over there, which will open up that clearing to see out onto it. I think the does that we saw have probably gone across and up and out, but he's probably gone down, or it's gone down. drop in a minute, and when it does, I can hopefully find them. I'm desperately trying to, and then hopefully that way we can get you ready for a shot.
I can't see them either.
No, they haven't moved.
Can you see them in the thermal?
Yeah, clear.
They're by that clump of stumps somewhere.
I would assume so, yeah. So that pylon is only 100 metres away.
Okay.
So there before that, we're up 100 metres. We literally just need that sun to disappear because it's really straight down the scope of me at the minute. And then once that goes, hopefully we'll pick them up and we'll just wait and they should stand up and we'll get a shot. There's 2 of them. There it goes. Oh, go away, sun. We just have to stay still a minute. They seem quite content. They're not interested in us at all. So it would be lovely if it was the other way round and they were sat here and we were sat there, because they'd have the sun in their eyes. So we're probably standing out, but because we've made this lump, we should hopefully have that little bit of, they won't really know what we are.
Can you see them in the scope?
I think so, but I keep getting a lot of sun reflection into it. It couldn't be any worse. The sun shining straight down.
Moan when we don't have sun, moan when we do have sun. Typical Brit. Are they sat down in the grass or are they standing?
One sat down, but it's more pronounced than the other one, which is sat behind, and it's much lower and you can just see the top of its head. That sun's about to do one, hopefully, if that cloud covers it.
I guess you just get really good at being able to see them.
Eventually it kind of becomes second nature that you just go in and you look for like a fence post with 2 in.
I guess once you know what you're looking for, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Same with birds.
Absolutely.
Once you've seen one snipe, you know what you're looking for.
Oh yeah, 100%. There.
Oh my god, I can see them.
Right, get behind it. Right, it's just walking away at the moment.
That's the anal.
That's a little buck, but it's only a yearling buck. That would be, oh fuck, and there they go.
They're stopping.
Oh, the wind's changed, that's why. They're gone. The wind's just changed direction, it's turned around behind us, so they winded us.
Not to worry.
Well, we got you in. That wind literally has just round. And that's what they picked up instantly on our wind because they both stood up.
Was that when they stood up?
Yeah, and that was it. You may have had 30 seconds, but no point rushing it.
No.
Unfortunately, that's that. They have gone.
And they weren't quite broadside either.
No. That good? You might not squeeze the trigger, but you saw them through the scope.
Really cool. The minute they stood up and I could actually see through my binoculars, I was like, oh, there they are. It's amazing how well camouflaged they are in there.
Yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that yeah, you can spend a lot of time looking, and yet you could literally walk all over the top of them. But that wind, just at the last minute, has just swung around. Just as that sun's gone out of sight, even that turbine's turned.
We wouldn't have been skylined there.
We weren't too bad, no. What it is the wind's come round, it's behind us, and it's just blown straight across them. That's why they stood. Hang on, it's your lucky day. There's another one down here. Just starting to move out of that cover. Yeah. Currently it's tucked in the back of the clear fell. All that wind blow. If you have a look through that, it's not clear yet, but it'll start to, you can just see a hot spot. Come to my left-hand side.
Oh, I think I've got a little face.
Yeah,
A red hot nose.
that's it. We might have to move forward slightly to get a better angle on it.
I see what you mean about translating.
Yeah, translating what you see in the thermal to the binos. Tall tree. Oh, that's why, because it's right. You see this mound in
Oh
front.
my god, I can see it. Can I? Nope, that's a twig.
We need to move sideways. It's literally, you see this upturned
Yeah.
stump. It's just behind that where that tall dead stump sticks up is. Yeah. Right, we're going to take 2 paces
To the left.
to the left. It's virtually impossible to shoot unless it moves out.
Sorry.
It'll be virtually impossible to shoot because it's so thick and covered in undergrowth. But if you have a look, you'll see it as clear as day.
Oh, I see. It's like tucked in there.
Yeah.
Wow. It's made a little nest of sorts.
Well, for it, it's just working its way underneath all the dead stuff. So it's probably as clear as anything for a deer. But for us, it would be virtually impossible to move through.
It's getting hotter. I think there's something else. It could be a rabbit, could be another one. To the right.
It could be a hare that we're looking at, unfortunately, as well. It's either that or a fox. Or a cat.
Yep.
Right, that's not a deer.
Okay.
If you grab that a minute, and just see if I can see it.
Do you think it's a bit too foxy shaped?
It does look foxy shaped, doesn't it? This is where the thermal's great, but you have the issue of being able to...
See too much?
You got to identify, exactly. Yeah, you get too much information. Chances are in there by itself with those little pointy ears, it's probably just a fox.
Okay.
Yeah, if it was a deer, it would probably legged it by now. The downside to deer stalking is there's a lot of standing around waiting. But now we've lost the sun, we actually have a really nice...
Well, there are worse places to be.
Exactly. If it is Mr. Fox, he might come out. I don't know yet. It might not be. You see, this is
Squeak at a deer.
the problem you've got is it's when you've got something that's so well tucked in.
Yeah,
With the naked eye, you can't see
see
it.
anything.
The thermal allows you to cut through the sticks, but it doesn't actually tell you.
Did it respond at all?
No. Might be deaf. Might be I'm too quiet. Might be my fox calls rubbish.
Sounded pretty good. But then I'm not a fox, so.
looking at what's down there and the shape of the land we're on. Nope, it's a deer. I've got it. I can see it. I can see its face. It's looking directly at us. Right. If you find the back of the tree that's fallen over in the mud that rises up, okay, and then you look at the stick that comes down that's still standing, that's snapped off at the top, where that makes a triangle at the bottom, you'll see a set of eyes looking back at us, a little grey face and a set of eyes and his button nose, and there's your deer. Okay, so in front of it there's another branch that branches out like this, and just here on the edge of that branch where everything
Please, could you go from the start?
Okay, so you've got the root ball of the tree.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've got the silver birch that's snapped off halfway up.
Yep.
Come right down to the base of that.
Yep.
In front of that then there's another silver birch that goes up with a thick branch and a thin branch. The thin
Wait,
branch
hang on,
goes
thick
up.
branch and a thin. The one that's coming out of the ground is quite thin.
Yeah, and it branches off and it splits, and the thick one goes up on the left hand side and the twiddly thin one goes up on the right.
I'm not sure I'm looking at the same tree.
It's directly in front of the silver.
Is it laying left to right? Or is it one that's in the ground?
No, it's in the ground growing up. It grows up in the same plane as the dead silver birch behind it.
Is the thick one on the left?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. So just come across the branch where the fork is. Come across that branch and you'll see the deer. You'll see its nose and its two button eyes, two little black eyes.
The thin stick that goes off to the right.
Follow that up before it gets to the log that goes across horizontally with green moss on it.
Yeah.
Straight down below that green moss.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Okay. Right, so you've got the root stump bed here. For you...
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the place where you're saying, but I'm not seeing a deer.
You just keep studying that area and all of a sudden it'll show up. You can only see a slither of it. Its left hand eye, its nose and its ear.
This is like a puzzle.
It is a puzzle. I'll see if I can take a picture for you.
Can we swap binos? Give it a go. Thanks. Sorry. Hang on. No, I'm not.
Right down.
Down there.
Find the root bed. Find that silver birch.
Yep.
Go right to the bottom of it and start working your way up, and you'll see a branch that comes across. Another tree that comes across horizontal.
Right, twiddly left. Okay, I'm in the right spot.
So you've got,
Before we get to the mossy log.
yeah, just below the mossy log, about halfway between the mossy log and the root bed. Grey slither of face with one eye and nose. You got it.
That looks like a bit of silver birch.
Yeah, it's a deer.
Jesus. Thank you.
It's all right. You'll never miss. You won't miss it now.
Oh my gosh, I've got it.
You got it. Sat there staring at us.
I should have taken your bino recommendation. Wow. Yeah, I got it. That's crazy. He or she is tucked in very nicely.
Very tight. I think it's the one we've moved a few times, and I said it was coming back. I don't think it came back. I think it came along and sat there.
Safe.
It knows we're here. The other three deer went off up the hillside. You can him in. He should be safe enough.
John. He's scanning. Wow. John.
But it's amazing how much you can see with the thermal. It shows its body, whereas all we can see is that tiny thin slither of head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the first root ball.
Oh yeah, see, it looks like white hot in this.
Yeah, now try and find it in the binoculars.
Can you get it? Took me ages. Can you see the tiny face?
It's literally stuck between that silver birch, the clump of mud, and the cross. See?
It's just in the clump.
Just one tiny little nose and an eye.
So that's, what have we seen on here? 2 out that side, confirmed. 3 ran away, we don't know where it went. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and if we count that one, we'll call it 9. It is a lot, but the regeneration's working quite well in here. So that the plan for this bit of forestry is not to plant. It's used to do self-gen. Day 2, we have just arrived at another forestry block. It's a nice bright morning. The sun hasn't risen yet, and it's about 10 degrees again, which is unseasonably warm.
Balmy.
Let's just have a bit of a catch up on yesterday. How it went? How was it?
It was a really, really good day out. I learnt a lot. John asked me when we went to the pub last night what was my main takeaway of the day. And after a bit of thought, I thought it's how cryptic roe can be.
Yeah.
Especially on the Clearfell, the second site that we stalked. It was unbelievably hard to see them, either when they were tucked down or, using that thermal made such a difference, even if it was just a pair of ears that you could see. But then the skill in translating that to what you're seeing through your binos.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. It's being able to take that information, which everybody talks about when you've never used a thermal before, and then you're trying to translate what you're seeing, and because the thermal doesn't give you the same picture as you get with the eyes, the brain interprets everything we see, and trying to take that and then transfer it across. So there's a lovely snippet, hopefully you've all listened to, in the earlier part where we were looking at a row tucked in some wind blow. And it really was well hidden, and I'm trying to describe it and explain it, and then we have the moment where Katherine finally sees it.
Finally.
But it just goes to show, without the thermal, we'd have never seen that deer.
Yeah.
So hopefully today, so yesterday we didn't actually manage to connect with deer. We had the rifle on them, we had crosshairs on deer, but it was just one of those things. There was no wind, everything was sort of wrong. I realised when I got home that I had my my stalking shirt on back to front, so that was probably the reason we never got anything. So today, there's a problem of getting dressed in the dark. So today, I've made sure everything is aligned, and hopefully we will connect.
Better luck.
Yeah, absolutely. At least I didn't realise halfway through the day and try and change my shirt, because it would have been bad luck. So the plan is we're going to head down into this forestry. It's a mixed bit of forestry. We've got some tall trees ready for harvest, then we go into some regen that's been probably going on for about 5 or 6 years, and then we go out into a whole patch of clearfell that's probably about 2 years old. Over the summer this is really hard to stalk because the grasses grow up really tall, and hopefully now with the bad weather we've had over the last few weeks, that grass should have died back and we'll have more chance of actually getting in and seeing something. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll have some more of this stalk as it goes on. Okay, so we're going to still make our approach to see if we can find him. So the wind's still good for us. But I think with the runner and the dog walker on the public footpath, it's not helped. But we'll keep going this way and see if we can get a bit better angle on it. So we've reduced that distance from about 300 metres, because there's that mound that he was at. So we're down to about 100 now. so thick out there, it's really difficult to see anything.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll step out. We'll press on a bit more. So yeah, the wind's still good. We're at 95 metres to where we last saw him. I'm not seeing him at the moment, but the problem we've got on this bit of Clearfield is there's a lot of ditches.
So if he's anyone sees.
Yeah, exactly. So at any point he could just step back up again.
He seemed very unfazed before we saw the walker.
Yeah, well that's a good thing.
Do bucks tend to be slightly less sneaky, or
It's almost like
very
they've
little difference?
It's almost like they've got a clock, and they know when they used to be out of season, because they could just stand there and go, "Oh, you can't shoot me." But the does knew when they came into season.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a bit different now with the removal of the closed season on male deer. But as I said to you earlier, obviously this woodland's zero tolerance, so anything comes out. Once upon a time, I'd have had a out of season licence. But now with the Scottish legislation change, basically everything's in season, so even a guest can now shoot a male deer any time of the year.
Previously, with those licences, would that just be for yourself? Is it a personal?
Yeah, so the licence is personal, but it's also specific to the piece of land.
Yeah.
To require the licence, you required to have at least a level 2, or be working towards your DSC level 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to be in Scotland, you have to be on what's called the fit and competent register, and that wind's picking up perfectly.
Lovely.
As I say, there's a big drainage ditch across there, and if he's just working along that ditch, we may not see him at all. But if we keep moving on, we'll get some higher ground, which should give us a lookout and a little bit better angle. We're almost, if he is coming up towards us, we'll be in a good place for a nice safe shot. As I say, the shot at the moment wouldn't be safe because of the houses, the substation, and we know there's a
And the
footpath.
road.
Exactly. But you can see just how thick the cover is. So realistically, if he's, because they're not that high anyway,
No.
if he was standing out in
He
a
could
just
be metres away.
just in a small hollow, like the first one we saw this morning that was looking at us, you could just see its head, but it was probably standing up in the grass.
Could just be in any one of these ditches.
Absolutely. He might live another day at this rate. I think if we hadn't had that dog walker and runner come through, we may have had a better chance of getting there, because obviously the wind's picking up, but
Yeah.
they may have just moved him off into the thicker stuff, so he's just feeling that little bit safer. There we go, we're back on the highway again now.
If you say so.
That's all we need. Bridge to nowhere. Unfortunately, I think we'll leave this fella alone,
Yeah.
because I think he's disappeared out of sight for the minute. And we'll press on, see if we can find something else.
That wind is really picking up.
Yep. So we're on stalk 4 now. We've just come back to the Clearfell that we were at yesterday. Grabbed a nice position to sit now that the wind's started to pick up. And currently we've got 2 deer in our sight, one not on our boundary, but the other one just tucked within some trees that we're able to see. There's a fair wind though.
Yeah, it's really picked up.
and that will benefit us massively. We're all good for the wind. It's not like yesterday where it was completely dead. So we're just going to play the waiting game and see what moves in a minute. But still blue skies. It said it was going to rain. We've been very lucky.
Had like a tiny spit, that's all. We'll get back over there in exactly the same position and she'll still be tucked in.
Totally. Well, there'll be another deer sat next to it. But having this wind that we've got today really it changes the whole environment. We have a massive amount of advantage now using the wind as kind of a noise break for us.
And scent break, I suppose.
Yeah. It was just sheer bad luck yesterday that as soon as that sun went down, the wind decided to change direction.
Still very exciting. Can't believe how close we were to that one this morning before we even realised we were on it.
Just goes to show, though, this white grass in these clear fell sites up here, it hides everything. We're quite lucky where we're currently sat. We're sat on the side of the hill, so we've actually got a really nice view out onto that clear fell.
Yeah.
So we've got the height advantage from where we are. We can still move left or right, and we'll still always have the benefit of a really safe shot down into a good bit of opening. We've got some good ground in front of us, and there's nothing dead in front, no dead ground in front of us either. We can see everything. Now all we need to do is wait for them to get up and come out. So the current deer that we're looking at is over on our left, and it's 168 yards, and it's currently 168 metres, tucked in some thick, scrubby type of silver birch area. It's moving its head a lot, but doesn't know we're here, which is good.
The one that's opposite us, is that likely to be head and body that you can see through the thermal?
Yeah. So directly up over from where we're sitting, you're probably seeing its head out to the right, and then its body is that lump on the left-hand side, but it's certainly well tucked in again into those bushes. That's why when you see them sat down on the ground and you come up to where they were sitting, you kind of get that almost like a cat's been sitting there. Because they kind of tuck themselves.
A little nest, almost. If you had to order the 6 British deer species and how hard they are to stalk, I assume the seeker would be high up there, at the top. Would roe be?
Roe, I would say, are probably one of the easiest.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but obviously they do that runaway, and then they'll
stop.
They'll stop. Whereas I think, seeker are probably the hardest to stalk. Reds are really, it depends where you are.
Yeah.
Again, if it's highlands, you've obviously got the terrain that you, the stalker, have to deal with. But actually, if it's a lowland red, it's relatively, as long as you use the advantages of the stalking and work your way around the hedgerows and all the rest of it, you can get onto it. Muntjac are probably canny. They're more a waiting deer, aren't they? Chinese water deer, I think it's more the being able to take a quick shot, see them and get yourself up and ready to take a shot. It may well be a slightly more reachy shot, but I'll find out in February anyway. And then fallow again, it's that by number. I think fallow are are relatively straightforward again to stalk. But again, it depends on the pressure that the deer have been under.
Yeah.
So if you've had a bit of an area where there's always pressure and a lot of shooting, the deer will become wise to it. Whereas you can see the deer up here are no wiser because there's no pressure on them. So we've probably moved on, 60 metres. We've still got the deer in the hedgerow. We've clearly identified it, but we're not sure whether it's male or female. But yeah, as you say, you've looked at it through the thermal, but you can't see it in the binos.
It's incredible how, I can pinpoint using trees and the bendy trees and all these little things as frames of reference. I can pinpoint exactly where that buck or doe is. But when I look through my binos, it's just a massive...
Just foreground.
Yeah, just a massive sticks. It's incredible.
It's quite content. It's sat there. So we're kind of playing the waiting game, really, hoping that at some point it's going to step out onto the clear fill that's in front of us. Maximum shot range is about 100 metres. We've got a really nice elevated position and we're tucked in behind a tree stump. See what happens. So we've concluded that's it. The stalk is finished. 2 days of hard stalking. Obviously, it's been a bit of an up and down. The weather's not really been in our favour.
Yes, we certainly had the wind today, which was good, but they were still sitting tight.
Yeah, we sat for about an hour and a half on one hind that was one doe that was absolutely fixed on not wanting to move. She eventually got up and legged it.
Yeah, so at least we got a good view of her rear end at the end.
So that was tricky. We proceeded to stalk on through the clear fell and came to two tightly sat deer under a tree.
Hilariously in exactly the same spot almost as the one that we'd seen the day before.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to within about 48 metres and they still were sat tight. So I think we've got a storm coming in tomorrow and I think that just changed everything. These deer just did not seem to want to come out and we were losing light rapidly. So that's the end of that. And it was an interesting set of stalking. It's not the usual for us, for me anyway, to have deer sitting that tight.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't believe that we'd, the three of us going across Clearfell, I stepped on the snappiest set of twigs. Couldn't have made more noise by accident. And then they were still just sat there tight, bum to bum, on the thermal. Yeah.
Fair wind coming through. So I think that made a huge difference. I think that it just goes to show if you've got the wind right, it does actually keep the deer away from you, or keep the noise away from the deer. And if they don't kind of know what's going on, I suppose with the background and everything behind us, we were making noise, but maybe we were still quite hidden by what we were crossing.
Or perhaps they just really didn't want to leave that nice cosy spot that they'd made for themselves.
Quite possibly. So anyway, this has been a sort of a first attempt at trying to do one of these in-field podcasts. So bear with me if it hasn't been the greatest. If it is all terrible, we will actually get Katherine back on the line and we will record one done the normal way and we'll follow her journey, because obviously this is really interesting to see her journey into deer stalking.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been fantastic.
No, thank you for travelling all the way up from Devon to come to the northeast of nowhere and come stalking for 2 days between Christmas and New Year. Superb. Thank you very much.
Fab.
Thank you for making it to the end. It was a really enjoyable experience trying to actually get that recorded. Hard work, and being able to record things, people get nervous, especially as you noticed at the beginning. Katherine on the shooting was struggling, so we turned the microphones off just to try and help her get her focus back. I also think she drank too much coffee, and she doesn't drink caffeine, as she said, and that was making her a bit all over the place. But we got the rifle in, sorted, everything was good. Unfortunately, no deer no deer showed for us to get a clean shot at that she was comfortable to take. Again, if you enjoyed this type of podcast, please leave us some feedback or give us some suggestions as to how we can do other things. Don't worry, next week we return to normality. We will have a recording with a guest, a bit more normal, but I'm going to try and hopefully do a few more of these. Watch what's coming. We've got some ideas for the Stalking Show as well. So these interactive podcasts, if they are good and you do enjoy them, there will be a few more in the pipeline. But anyway, thanks for listening.